Hello everyone. This is a continuation of my manipulator type series. This series is not focusing on abuser versus victim, rather it's focused on teaching and educating about the different manipulator tactics that we use on a regular basis. We may manipulate using one tactic or combine 2 or 3 tactics at a time. Every manipulation type has subcategories and they can be used interchangeably. This series is on my channel in the playlist tab named Manipulator Types. Check it out if you're interested. Today we will be talking about a manipulator type that can be very subtle because it's not directly aggressive or straightforward, but very manipulative. Today we're going to go over the dependent. The dependent can be compared to a leech. They leech off of people and take from them in order to maneuver and get around through life. The dependent depends on others for lots of things. It can be motivation, courage, money, ideas, and even their own identity. They're almost like chameleons where they can camouflage their way into groups and find someone to leech off of in order to benefit from them. The dependent is usually the person who sucks up to the person that they're around. They're those people who are in the background, or they're like a little sidekick to the person they're leeching off of. It's like the guy in the background who is friends with a popular person in high school, and they're trying to be cool, and they are cool just by association. And this person is just there. He doesn't really contribute to anything, but he just hangs around the coolest guy just to be cool. He laughs in the background, he just agrees with them, and he's pretty much just sidekicking. They are manipulating in a way where they are benefiting from the person they are around, and they don't contribute or offer anything in return. Hence why they are like leeches. They have no sense of loyalty. They just hop around and see who they can benefit from at any time. When they hop around groups of people, they know who to talk to and they know what to do to get something out of people. They can act like they're helpless. In reality, all they want to do is be led by other people and have other people work for them while benefiting from others in some sort of way. In the friend setting, they can be the ones who make you plan everything. They'll say something like, "You're so great at making plans." And then they kind of coerce you into making the plans and they put you in the leadership role in order for you to do all of the work. So while you're figuring out what to do, they're laying back and just doing nothing. They're watching TV, and while you're stressing out about the time, the places you want to go to, and budget, then they're just kicking back, relaxing. And as I mentioned previously, they can also be the people who see some kind of value in you and then just want to be your friend just because they want some of your success, popularity, or whatever it may be. They leech off of you and they don't have to necessarily like you. They just like what they can gain out of you. In romantic relationships, it's very similar. These manipulators can use you for money, status, or whatever it may be. Usually the people who fall for the dependent types are the men who fall for women who leech onto them for money. So men can be led to believe that the woman loves him and then find out way later down the line that he was only being used for his money. And now it's easy to see from the outside what's happening, but sometimes these men are blinded by loneliness and a longing for a companionship. And so it makes it hard for them to see that they're being used in the first place. This can also happen with women. Oftentimes, this takes the form of men living off of women, kind of like the man-child archetype, where they can leech off a woman and take from her while providing nothing or little in return. Since women like to nurture or help people, they can be misled and fall into that trap. The man can tell her a sob story. They can say something like, "I just need a place to stay for now. I'm down on my luck right now. I need to get back on my feet." So the woman will help them. And while they're being helped, the man will do nothing to get out of the situation. He gets too comfortable. He thinks, "I have a house, I'm being fed, I'm being taken care of by this woman." Great. So all the money he ends up saving up, he ends up blowing it. And instead of using it to get out and be independent, he becomes dependent. In the family setting, it can be your own child who doesn't want to leave the house. They're way too comfortable and they depend on you to provide for them. They may not help in any way, shape, or form. And it could be that you argue lots with them and they just can't seem to be independent. They don't want to work for themselves. They're using you at this point to stay where they are. They're benefiting completely off of your back, off of your labor. They're not taking any steps to become independent at all. It's one thing if you actually enjoy having them around. They're actually providing you something. If you want to provide for your own child, you want to provide for anyone, there's nothing wrong with that. But it gets to the point where it becomes manipulative when they're taking away from you in some kind of way, or it's hurting you in some kind of way. And of course, this happens the other way around, but it's less common. So with parents, it could be that they expect the child to be sort of the second parent in the home, and they put pressure on their child to sort of act like an adult. They might say things like, when you're older, you're going to take care of me because I took care of you. So now they're prepping the child to take care of them and prepping the child to be the one taking care of the parent, and then the parent's going to be the dependent on the child. Now, I want to take the time to emphasize that it's a wonderful thing to provide for someone. It's a great thing to provide support and help, but there's a difference with being manipulated and offering your help freely. You could be better off not providing for someone else. It could be that dealing with someone who is leeching off of you is costing you too much emotionally, financially, or even physically. You can think of having a parasite in your body that you don't notice. It wants to remain unnoticed because once you find out, you will try to remove it. So the parasite takes just enough to be under the radar. But what happens is eventually parasites get really big and they multiply. Eventually you'll notice something is off, but by the time you notice, it's too late. It's also like fleas on a dog. Fleas can consume so much blood that it can actually cause anemia in the dog and other problems. Fleas are a parasite, and your dog is better off without them, and you're probably better off with the dependent in your life. They don't offer you anything in return. They just take, and that's the difference. If you're providing for someone financially, they don't have to provide finances back, for example. They can provide company, support, and even just be a good cheerleader to have. Now, when the dependent type turns their manipulation game into a positive force, they can be great supporters. They can be under someone's wing and provide backup needed, and they can provide help and support as well. I like to think of Batman and Robin because Batman is good on his own, but with Robin, he is great. Robin serves to balance Batman, and Robin knows where he stands in the duo. He's not the leader, but he is a great sidekick. The dependent turns into the supporter, where they encourage the person that they're depending on to become even better, even greater. They uplift the person and provide emotional support. They're giving backup. And instead of being a parasite, they're in a symbiotic relationship in which they both thrive to support each other. And it's a mutual respect. Symbiotic relationships exist in nature. So for example, there are several birds that like to hang around deer. And the reason they do this is because they actually eat the ticks and the bugs that attach to the deer while they're walking around. So those birds depend on the deer for food. But at the same time, the bird is actually cleaning up the parasites on the deer that the deer wouldn't be able to get off of his body so easy. So there's a mutual benefit. It's a symbiotic relationship. If you're dealing with someone who is a dependent type manipulator, it's important to distinguish whether they are genuine with you or not. You can enjoy the idea of helping people, but this also makes you a target to be taken advantage of. The best thing to do is to notice if someone is simply using you or offering you nothing in return for what you give. They don't always have to offer you something in return per se, like the same way you give. They can't be taking more than you can give. It's in your best interest to cut them off because they might be draining you in different ways. It may be financially, it may be emotionally, mentally, physically. There's more things than just physical, tangible things that can be draining you of. You can come to realize that you have much more vitality with them gone, and you feel a sense of obligation, and this is because they have been manipulating you for so long. They're sucking you dry, and that is the point. Usually they will make you feel like you have to have them around or that they're providing something for you when in reality they're not. It's okay to say no when you feel like you're being taken advantage of. It's okay to vocalize that you need them to help you as well. If it's necessary, it's okay to take breaks from them and remove them from your life if communicating with them is not an option. Also, be aware of you using others and them using you. Ideally, you want to find a good supporter. And if someone wants to depend on you, this is what their job is essentially. As I mentioned before with Batman and Robin, Robin is the great sidekick. He is the epitome of a sidekick. He is supporting, he is uplifting. And Batman's great on his own, but with Robin, he's even greater. And that's what you need in your life. If there is that dependent, or if you suspect that you are a dependent, that's what you need to provide for someone else. So these are some of the things to look out for. And then with this in mind, you can transform and help someone else to transform their traits for the better.